Well, hello, Rockhounds, Lapidary lovers. Mike here. Welcome back to my channel. What have we got going on up on the bench today? What is this big thing? Well, this is a fossilized coral head right here that my stepson Joe pulled out of one of the rivers here in Florida. He's a fossil diver. He goes into the rivers and he dives for fossils. Megalodon shark teeth, mammoth tusks, mastodon bones, that kind of stuff. He makes a living at it. Believe it or not, you can make a living at that in Florida. Florida rivers are full of fossils. And another fossil we have in our rivers is fossilized coral heads. And that's what this is right here. So I'm doing another little favor for my stepson Joe. Last time I did him a favor, I polished up a big chunk of Blue Forest petrified wood for him, and that turned out really great. I'll put a link to that video in the upper right. You can check that out if you haven't already. But this favor involves these fossilized coral heads. So what Joe wants to do with these is slice them up and sell them to flint knappers because they love this material for flint knapping. But there's a problem. It doesn't knap very well as it is. Okay? It needs to be heat treated. Heat treating it in a kiln will tremendously improve its properties for flint knapping and give it some interesting colors and textures on the inside that it doesn't have when it's unheat treated. So this big coral head here, I have heat treated it in one of my kilns. I have kilns. That's why I'm doing this for Joe. He doesn't have kilns. So this has been heat treated. And I've taken a few slices off of a piece that I've heat treated in, and I put it in Lazarus, the big 16-inch lapidary saw over here. Yes, Lazarus is a mess, as usual. I use him a lot. I call him Lazarus because I brought it back from the dead so many times. This saw is probably older than I am, and I am not young by any stretch of the imagination. Anyway, I'll clean it up after I get a bunch of cuts done for Joe because, I'm just going to keep messing it up. Anyway, here's the cut face on the coral head I'm cutting on now. I've already made several cuts on this coral head. I think I can get at least one more before I have to reposition it in the clamps. But I'm going to keep cutting on this until I can't cut no more and get a whole bunch of slabs off of it for Joe. And then I'll load another one in and do the same thing. And just cut up these coral heads as best I can so that Joe can sell them to flint knappers. Well, let me get the lid on Lazarus closed and we'll get it started on another cut. And away we go. So that's going to take about 20 minutes. And Joe is very happy with the results. He is very happy with the results. Now here's a piece of unheat treated coral. And it's just sort of a mottled white color. I don't know if you can see it, how well that's coming through. You can see a little bit of the coral structure to it, but there's no real color to it anywhere. And like I said, the properties on this, it just doesn't nap well, okay? But, if I take a thin slice of this and shine a light behind it, you just see sort of mottled white. You wouldn't see anything terribly interesting, and it wouldn't nap well, okay? But here's some slices that I've taken off of some heat-treated coral. Check out that orange color. Yeah, that's not present before heat treating. And I don't know how well it's showing up. I'll zoom in a little bit. But it's got a nice blue line around it there. It's got some yellows in it. Yeah, so that's not only does heat treating it make it better for flint knapping, it also just makes it more colorful and prettier. So here's a heel end I cut off of it. It's got some nice blue in it. It's probably the color's not showing up, but it's got a little bit of an orange background to it. And then here's some slices. I cut this one too thin, but these slices here are just the right thickness for flint knapping, 5/16 to 3/8. That's exactly what Joe wants. So I'm going to continue making slices out of this stuff so he can take them to what's called a nap-in and sell them and make some money. And I'll take you around back and show you the heat treating process. Yeah, here's some fossil coral heads that I've already heat treated in the kiln over here. And there's another batch of them in the kiln getting the treatment now. If we come over here and look at the controller, it's holding around 200 degrees right now. So it has to hold at 200 degrees for 60 hours to dry out the coral heads. We want to get all of the moisture out of them before we ramp it up slowly to 500 degrees. We're going to do that at 10 degrees an hour, and then we're going to hold it at 500 degrees for 6 hours. And the difference is amazing. Yeah, we got to get all the moisture out of these coral heads before we ramp the temperature up above the boiling point of water, or there will be steam explosions. We'll just blow them to pieces. And of course, these were on the bottom of a river, so they are just as impregnated with water as they possibly can be. So a long, long time in the kiln to dry out before we ramp the temperature way up. Otherwise, they will just explode to pieces and probably destroy my kiln in the process, which I don't want. The kiln's already in rough enough shape. So I've been cutting the coral for a while. I'm starting to get a pretty big box full of it here, slabs of it. And it's kind of neat. After heat treating, the coral sometimes develops interesting colors and patterns in it. Starts looking a little bit like agate, which is kind of cool because, you know, the unheat treated stuff's pretty boring. But, yeah, that's cool. I mean, look at the blue in this one here and the dark band around the edge. I mean, that all developed after heat treating. Very cool. Very cool indeed. Plus, Joe is very happy with the way this stuff flakes. He says this is going to make great points and knives and whatnot. All kinds of flint knap tools can be made from this now after the heat treatment. It conchoidally fractures very nicely, he says. Alright, so let me get back to it. Cut some more. So here's one of the possible pitfalls if you're going to try this at home, which I don't recommend, especially if you value your kiln. The 60-hour drying time apparently was not long enough for this piece of coral. It exploded like a grenade once the temperature got above the boiling point of water. It was an especially large piece. Maybe I should have increased the drying time. But, yeah, okay. Yeah, it went off like a grenade. There's a lot of stuff on the ground here, so clearly it popped the lid up when it exploded. Big chunk taken out of the lid. Pieces of coral everywhere. So, yeah. So this piece is toast. And it looked like it might have, well, first off, it's done a fair amount of damage to the kiln. I can probably get it up and running again, though. But, yeah, it looks like it's even fractured the pieces above that were below it. It was the one on top broke, but the pieces below it have big chunks sheared off of them, too, from the force of the explosion. Stuff's just everywhere. I think we succeeded in making it fracture conchoidally, though. So, anyway, yeah, so that's one of the possible downsides of doing this. So, don't use your favorite kiln, or don't use your spouse's or significant other's kiln if they're heavy into pottery, because the kiln might be a little damaged if this happens. If you all found this video at all interesting, educational, informative, inspirational, whatever, give it a like, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to see my future videos, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks a lot for watching this video. Bye.